Yo, 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 what's poppin', everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Podicast right here at Molapo Crossing. The Molapo Crossing Theater is where we come at you straight every single Wednesday at 3 p.m. All right, remember, Molapo Crossing is not just a mall. This is where you can actually come through and, be creative, all right? There's a theater here. It's got lights, it's got sound, it's got every single thing. And if you want a bigger capacity show, you can actually use the piazza as well. There's Capello around here, there's La Parada here, there's everything. There's every single thing that you might need right here, Molapo Crossing. And this is why we're here and part of this beautiful, beautiful creative hub where you can come through with your friends and just enjoy life and enjoy what Gaborone has to offer. My name is SCAR. I am your host for today. It's another Podicast. And yeah, man, there's been so many things going on in BW as far as the political landscape is concerned. Hey, so, but yo, these things, politics is a part of everyone's life. No matter how much you try to say, hey, me, I don't dabble in that, it affects all of us. And this is why we have this gentleman for the third time. This is an absolute record right here on the Podicast. And this gentleman, as you know, is one of the greatest, but one of the journalists that I like checking out what his opinion is all about ever since the Times Double, the Sunday Standard. Right now he is currently, let me make sure I get this right, he is a communications expert and political commentator, and he is a communications and strategy, he actually runs a communications and strategy firm called Mpho Advisory. Google them, find out what they do. They can help you, especially if you want to do probably business in BW, about every single thing that you might need to know before you come through. So yeah, and I'm seeing an emergence of advisory firms in Botswana, which makes business even easier for people who don't know anything about Botswana. So make sure you check out Bro Spencer as Mpho Advisory Council. But yes, today he's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Mr. Spencer Mogapi. How are you, sir?
Good, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming through and always honoring our invitation. I think that I have so many questions. I'm not even going to do a pre-log about them. I'm just going to get straight into it. We've had the UDC government in power for ever since October now. Mm-hmm. It's now running into close to a year now. I just want to find out from you, Hela in general, it's been several months now, and how would you assess the overall performance in terms of your governance and delivery? I think we can start it from there.
Yes, thank you very much again, Scar, for having me.
Yes, sir.
The UDC government has been in power, as you put it, since they won the general elections.
Yes, sir.
October 2024, 30th, I think that was the date.
Yes, sir.
So their overall, I think, performance has been a mixed bag. As you can imagine, they came in at the time when the economy was literally on a meltdown, and it has not improved anyhow. And they had big dreams that we all know about. President Boko now, when he was in opposition, he made all sorts of promises. Yeah. I suspect also, even if the economy was good, he had never imagined that he was really going to win. Yeah. The kind of promises that he made.
Yeah,
I doubt even if the economy at its best would be able to honor all of those. But here he is. He's now the president. And I suspect one of his biggest lessons would have been to really know that power is never the same as being in opposition.
Yes, sir.
It comes with a lot of accountability and scrutiny. So on other things, they did really well. Mm-hmm. On things that mattered to them, especially insofar as the deliverables, they couldn't. Yeah. The 2.5 for the students, the money for Bahudi, the elders who are supposed to go to a certain degree, they could only manage a little bit of that. Yeah. He has been saying that we are not done yet. In fact, we have not failed. We're just waiting for the economy to make a 10, and then we'll deliver. We hope the economy really makes a 10 because the way things are going, we are never going to do it anytime soon unless diamond sales come back. They are not.
Yes, sir.
So in that score, they have not done well. But on other issues, especially those that do not need money per se, he has, for example, been able to unlock the DBS deal. He has been able, for example, to push other things that during the BDP, especially the negotiations, you can imagine there was a deadlock between Botswana government and DBS. And the people were very, very worried that this was going to scare DBS. In fact, there was already talk that who was going to come in should DBS pull out. And then they came in. We do not know the kind of concessions that they really made.
Yes, sir.
These things, they don't normally make them public. But it came, of course, at a cost, definitely, to Botswana government. So we are still watching. If you ask me, the judiciary, his biggest performance, I think, has been to reignite the judiciary. He's been very upfront in that regard. I think we should thank him for having appointed new people, especially the Chief Justice. And it looks like they are really bringing back the judiciary that we used to know. Independent, not influenced by the presidency especially. You remember how the judiciary became really soiled. It was mainly a result of the relationship between then President Masisi and his predecessor being Ian Khama. The litigation, so many of those that went into the judiciary, they forced the judiciary ultimately to itself take sides. And they started, as judges, high court justices, started fighting amongst themselves.
Are there any surprises though? Because with how they've been able to manage, because also speaking to the diamond sales, do you think they really didn't know the degree at which things were bad cutting more in the kitty? Because a lot of people would like to say they should have known.
Yes,
and maybe just reduced maybe the expectations that they had created. They should have known as a government in waiting.
They had an idea. I'll tell you, especially on the eve of elections, a few months into elections, it was pretty clear to many Batswana that things were not. The stories were already floating, how the Pula Fund of Botswana had been depleted, how Botswana government up to that point was now failing to honor the invoices due that they had to pay. It was pretty much clear that there were problems. But look, they were determined to get into power. So they had to make promises. People normally put into power on the strength of the promises that you make. If they buy into those, if they are excessive promises, of course, people could easily see that you are selling them a pie in the sky and they take you like a joke. But that was not him. I think by and large, and here I'm not even talking by the extent to which people had become very contemptuous of his other contender, that is Mokgweetsi Masisi, who people really wanted to see the back of. I suspect also people gave Boko a chance because they really wanted Masisi out.
So it was about getting out the other guy and give this guy a chance.
Yes, it was more about getting rid of the guy who was incumbent at the time rather than really putting in somebody.
I'm going to talk about the promises around corruption, youth unemployment, and civil service reform. Has there been any meaningful steps? And I think maybe mostly when it comes to youth unemployment, because 42% at this point, that's a lot. Are there any steps that you see towards
the youth unemployment in this country actually is a time bomb. It's shocking. And when you look at the quality, the caliber of the people that you are talking about people from college, people from university. These are people who have been trained by this country at huge expense. These are the people who really should be working one way or the other. And many of them, you see a family, 4 graduates in the family, all of them not working. So I worry a lot about the whole stability of the country going forward. If it continues like this, we are headed for serious things like public protests, strikes, unrest, upheavals. And it wouldn't really matter that Boko came up with the promises. People would just be there saying, you are in power now, can you deliver on these things? No, if you ask me, has he delivered? No, it's too early yet, but things are not moving even at the snail pace. Things are stagnant in that regard. You were also talking about
corruption and
corruption.
Civil service reform.
Corruption, I would tell you, it's an elephant in the room. If he does not deliver on fighting corruption, if it is found by the public that some of his inner circle, the people that are closest to him are involved in corruption, that will be the start of his fall as a president, but also the start of the fall of the whole government. So on corruption, there is no compromise. He has to be seen to be fighting it. If for any reason people closest to him do it, and he's found to have a soft spot for them, if I was one of his advisors, I would be every morning telling him to show that he's fighting corruption.
Speaking about your civil service, because we've been seeing the Public Accounts Committee on our screens, and what a shocker. Some of these things we really didn't know that much about. What do you see? Because it looks like a whole rotten situation in the public service space. I don't know if it's when something happens, ministry thing, so whoever is supposed to be accountable is not accountable because that ministry doesn't exist anymore. What are we seeing with things like the Public Accounts Committee? What does that say about how our civil service is?
No, there are two things I think that, look, when he came in, he realigned the ministries, like for defense, justice and security, he killed the defense aspect of it, brought it back to the Minister for State President, we have Honorable Ramaotwana there. But that is not all. What was coming out at the Public Accounts Committee really went way out to show the rot inside the government, especially the previous government. But my worry also with the Public Accounts Committee is that there was a lot of grandstanding there by the MPs themselves. They dwelt too much onto gossip. They did not really go insofar as reading and interpreting the papers before them around what the Auditor General would have found, because that's really what they needed to do. They needed to do a lot to ask the accounting office, the permanent secretaries, what really is going on, rather than the gossip. So if you ask me, can I grade this particular public account? Because Public Accounts Committee is a very, very important subcommittee of Parliament. If you go to evaluate or rank the importance of the subcommittees of Parliament, it would rank very top, if not number one. So what it does is to basically show the public how these ministries, once given the money by Parliament itself, how they spend that money. If they really go a long way to take care of every single pooler, every single tab. Did the Public Accounts Committee do that, achieve that? I doubt, because we are waiting for their report. We will see, I hope, what really they have done.
Sometimes it just feels like, I don't know if the accounting officer, it's like they don't have any accountability for some of the actions that they have taken. It looks like and then we just do it. Is that really the powers that the elected officials have? They have that much power to make them do whatever they want them to do?
The accounting officers, this is what happened, and this is really a sad story about this country when it comes to corruption. Public procurement used to be in the purview of PPADB. PPADB literally called the shots. They would adjudicate. They would, and then Parliament, or let's say government of Masisi basically killed PPADB. Took away their power and said the ministry, basically the permanent secretary, was going to be the ones doing everything.
Oh my word.
And then every other week we had a permanent secretary who has been sacked, basically showing them that you don't have the power, we call the shots as the presidency or as the president. So which permanent secretary is going to refuse to do what the president says when he has been seeing all his other colleagues being fired, being sacked every other week?
That was a lot of people.
So it was a statement, basically. So that is the sad part. I think if Boko is serious about the whole thing of fighting corruption within the public service, he has to bring back PPADB with certain improvements, especially giving PPADB even more power. We should not be worried that PPADB is undermining progress, is undermining the program of government. No, we should be happy that even as delays are there, at least they take care and make sure that government gets the value worth of the money.
And even the little man has an opportunity, even to compete with these big companies, because I think by shutting down PPADB, the ground just, the pitch, it just got difficult for...
The president has been trying to sell the idea of direct appointments. Yeah, direct appointments was always there, even as there was PPADB in its original form. But he's been unsuccessful to convince the public that it is his direct appointment that will matter. Otherwise, where else the other people who he doesn't know about, where are they going to get an opportunity? What it means is that only the people known to the president, only the people who tell the president, I can do it. What about everybody else? So I think we should bring back PPADB.
Yes, sir.
This would allow everybody to compete. The president is right when he talks about a lot of juggling behind the scenes, people positioning themselves and the like, a lot of dealing between behind. So that can still be there, but there's a way to fight it.
Yes,
obviously, it will never be defeated. But what he has opted to do, which is to go full force for direct appointments, I'm sorry, it will ultimately come to haunt him.
What do they call it? The Congress is coming through BNF. What are we seeing in there? Are there any infightings that might show up there? Because I think the Congress is going to have the true colors thing. So
yes,
what are we seeing as far as what's going to happen with the Congress?
Yeah, I will tell you, my biggest worry is not the personalities themselves, even as they matter, but really what the implications are for a fragile and still very new government. When you have senior ministers in this particular government basically lining between two lobby groups. There's this group, they call it Tempele, and then there's this other group led by the current Secretary General, KFC Motsego. So these are senior ministers in both groups, and it's going to take a lot of time from them. And ultimately, it doesn't matter who wins. It will fracture even further this government. It's a very fragile government. It needs to be pulling together. If you look at performance again, which you talked about earlier, you will see that the whole government rests on the shoulders of President Bok. Where are the ministers? The ministers are still somewhat afraid to get their impact felt. They are like afraid to make big decisions. It's like they still have to go and defer everything to the president. I think the president still has a job to empower his ministers to go ahead and make mistakes. They should not be scared to make mistakes. And they can only learn from making these mistakes. But now everything circulates around the president, save for maybe for Motsewa himself at local government. He's all over and he's making an impact.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Other ministers, where are they? Yes, but
I see him because he's been in the news a lot. But but I
would also argue that it's mainly a result of the vested interests, that the special interest that the president, as a lawyer himself, has on the judiciary, on the justice ministry, general. So he has been pushing, especially with this, which I really welcome myself. They have appointed a task force to look around the situation of Basaro across the whole country. The president had promised, if you remember, first State of the Nation address. It will ultimately give a blueprint of just what is happening to Basara countrywide, what should be done, money allowing, of course, to bring them and maybe even bring them closer to the whole society.
Yes, sir.
In the CKGR, should they be allowed back into the reserve? Should they, like we saw when earlier in the year when there was a burial happening there, who knows? Maybe they will come up with such recommendations. But something has to be done for the good of Basara.
Definitely. And I think let's just move on to Rebo Kotota as an individual. How do you think his leadership style has evolved ever since he's become president?
The biggest footprint that I think he succeeded to give this country has been to say from the beginning, I am for human rights. This country is human rights. You'll be shocked how much of the world started just looking at him, at the country. And it has won a lot to us as a country, a lot of goodwill. So he's been very clever in that regard. But his biggest undoing that I already see is that he's not consistent in staying on the message. He kind of moves on to other things too quickly before people even absorb the first thing. So he needs help from his ministers, which is why I'm saying he really needs to be pulled. You know, the biggest undoing also about Masisi was that he wanted to do everything by himself. At the expense of everybody else. So Boko should not fall into that trap. He really needs to try to decentralize and allows ministers to also shine. The more they shine, they beam it onto who? The president.
So because a lot of, there's some people within the parliament building, you know, some people actually thought would have been ministers, you know. Do you ever foresee a reshuffle happening? Because now people are starting to call out certain ministers who know, yo harmofili. Do you think the president feels pressured, or at one point he has to do a reshuffle? Or do you think he's sticking with his troops
for
right now?
It's too early for a reshuffle. He has to stick with his ministers. You can never satisfy the public. I'm happy he has so far. There was a lot of pressure on Minister Chombo in the beginning.
Very much so.
For her age especially, I was very worried myself. It was too much. But I'm happy Boko really stuck with her.
He even made a statement also.
But of course, all these things come with risks. But look, if you ask me, going forward, are there other people in the backbenches? I see, yes, a lot actually. There's a lot of talent, I think including even lawyers who are just in the backbench. So he's spoiled for choice. We should not worry about talent for now, no. The important thing is that we make sure that the guys who are in the executive really learn the ropes. When we last talked, you and I was worried that there was going to be a lot of inexperience, and it will show immediately. And true to form, there was it. So, but now they've been going through the paces. There's a lot of improvement. Even their performance in parliament, you can see that there's a change. It is not as quickly as you would have wanted, because if you look on the opposition benches, a lot of experience there, a lot of talent. So they are not able to match those, especially now in the beginning. So maybe in the future, we don't know.
What about those who say that the vice president is overly, he's got too much on his plate? Do you think that there's going to come a time where they might actually have to, you know, ease up some of these responsibilities? Because the finance ministry on its own, it's already a big ministry, and now having the office of the vice president as well, you know, don't you think that's overly, giving him too much to do?
I'll tell you why I think maybe for now the president has a good idea in making Gaolati a vice president, but also the minister of finance. This is a coalition government. And just on that alone, he needed to show goodwill to his deputy or his other partners. And who are we talking about? AP. He needed to give them the vice president. And then Ndaba also came naturally as a choice for finance. So it's a big portfolio. I think if you ask me, I would say I had been surprised at how maybe the AP itself or Gaolati himself was able to negotiate even more other senior positions in government. Look at Pius Mokhari, senior minister, Winter Muluzi, senior minister, Butali, senior minister, and they are not. They are senior key ministries. So for AP, small as it is, to be able to have been able to negotiate such portfolios for itself, I think it was maybe a strength to do to Ndaba himself.
Hey, I just wonder how this is going to play out at the Congress, you know, for the BNF, or, you know, we won, but here you are giving away all of these key positions to AP, which didn't get that many. You know, I don't know how that will play out. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out at the Congress.
The BNF has never had a shortage of radicals. Those who are totally averse to having their values as the BNF being neutralized. And they see these guys coming in with no BNF inclination. To them, that is soiling the culture of the BNF. But I think Boko will be there again, as he has always been. Boko has been a true believer in coalitions. He fought it in the beginning,
from the
when there was BMD with Bohomoleba Motsoaledi. He fought for it later on again, Kandaba, even though they fell out after the first stint. And then he fought it for it again with Dumela and Salishando. Even again, it failed. But look, he has been a believer in coalition politics. So I believe when they go for Congress, BNF, true diehards, they are going to fight for it and say, you gave too much to AP. Can you dilute it? I suspect he's going to say, look, you have to be generous for you to show that you are the leader.
Yeah.
I suspect that was the whole reasoning behind him giving AP so much.
Definitely. I don't know if... actually, let me just get into this one about Reboko. Do you think he's surrounding himself with actual loyalists, or, is he looking for real talent? Because it's a tricky one to play, especially in politics.
Because if you ask me, the only guy who I've seen appointed, especially in the public space, who I say is a natural ally, I think is his legal counsel, because that's his friend. They have been. You can't take it away from him. Yeah. But other than that, he has been true to form to say it's on merit. Yeah. Not to say that Bingoto is not on merit, but they are friends foremost. Yeah. So I think he's trying to give everybody a chance. Yeah. And again, it comes at a cost. BNF, they can't understand what he's doing. They are saying we still are running this country with appointees from Masisi era. They don't like that. Yeah. We still have the diplomatic service filled by people from Masisi era. I was
expecting a lot of people to be brought back. Yeah. I think that's the thinking of everyone. Or, radical change was going to happen. Missions, people were going to be called from missions. But none of that is happening.
And he answers it by saying, no, I cannot do cadre deployment. I have to do it on merit. But I don't think that is what his people are saying. Merit, that's a fair argument. But there is also merit to be considered in politics. You can take BNF guys who are just as good, better than him himself. Yeah, he cannot see himself as the only good guy to come from BNF. The AP itself, they have people who have been sympathizers within the public service. These people should come up. Yeah. And they should not hide, because these are the people who will be better able to drive the UDC program. I think we should understand that when people talk about cadre deployment, what they are saying is the top bureaucracy especially, it has to be populated by the party people who really are loyal to the values of the party in power.
Some people also, their lives were very, very hard under the former administration because maybe they were seen to be BNF loyalists. Yeah. You could tell even the frustration from a lot of them losing their jobs. It was a problem.
People have made a lot of sacrifices. People in the civil service especially were for many years overlooked, especially because they were seen to be closer to Botswana National Front, because that was the opposition for many years. They lost their jobs. Especially during Masisi, people literally, permanent secretaries, directors to that level, a chunk of them were gotten rid of because they were seen to have been people with a culture of proximity either to opposition or to Ian Khama. So these are people, if that was true, these are the people who we really should be bringing back to say these people were unfairly sacked from government.
What about Dr. Tseko, my former lecturer? What is his role, though? Because now we've given it time. We remember when the opposition was really mad when, was it Reboy Sebetela? At the time when he was called in as chief of staff. Now he's the chief of staff for Re Dumaboko. What is his role?
I will tell you. Let's start first with the weaknesses of that office for Botswana context. It is not in the law books. It is not like in the United States. Because in the United States, the chief of staff is
the president, pretty much.
Pretty much. If you look at it carefully, you would say, hey, we have a chief staff who is actually much more powerful than the president. Because they are the gatekeepers. You cannot see the president without talking to the chief of staff. And other than that, they are in the security team, they are in the foreign affairs team, they are in the home land security. So they are everywhere. So they are the thing. But here, we have a chief of staff that was basically a creation by the president through just the executive authority. They don't have a budget. They don't have staff. They are themselves, like we say, not in the books of the law. So they feel isolated. But this is their role. Their role is basically to link the party and the public service. Yeah, but then they have to work very closely with the permanent secretary to the president and also with cabinet. So if they are able to do that, it will be easy. But if they themselves have ambitions, especially to become permanent secretary, seeing where the real power lies, then there's going to be a clash between the chief of staff and the permanent secretary to the president.
Jesus. It's a problem waiting to happen.
If it is not already happening, who knows?
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the traveling, you know. It's funny now that it's reversed now.
Yeah.
Ramasisi was being told or he travels too much. And now, you know, we see supporters of DGB also saying, well, hey, it's crazy to watch this. So what do you make of the traveling? You know, do you think people are right to say that he's overdoing it?
This is a personal thought. I think people have been unfair to Boko on the front of travel. And I've tried to convince his people to do a spreadsheet and say, in the 6 months, Masisi had done this much travel at this cost. Boko, in the first 6 months, he has done this travel at this cost. And show us. Yeah, if they can do it, then the whole noise about Boko being a big because my instinct tells me that Masisi traveled a lot more than Boko. But we have to wait for it. If they don't do it, then the people who are accusing them without producing facts will win, because he seems to be traveling a lot. But look, there's been a damage done by the previous government.
Yes, sir.
Even though they said they were doing it for Khama himself had destroyed. For South Africa, for example, that's the most important country to Botswana. Yeah, we need to really have a president who reaches out to that government. Unfortunately, the first thing they did was to make concessions to South Africa on those vegetables. Yeah, that annoyed Batswana like hell. Much. And I could understand why Batswana were annoyed, because so many people, and I'm talking about professionals, they left their jobs because they wanted to go into agriculture after the ban. And they took loans. All of a sudden, exactly what you felt was going to give you money is being taken out. South Africa is bringing the vegetables again. So it annoyed me. And they said it's bad economics. I think the bad economics is what this government chose.
Were they, this relationship with South Africa, and I'm also, you know, putting in your electricity. Do you think South Africa is pressuring us because we are that trade partner like that? Like, if we don't allow the vegetables in here, what are they going to do?
South Africa to Botswana is what America is to many countries to the world. They would naturally push and throw their weight around. But look, we made mistakes. Previous government, the 100 billion thing,
that
was basically saying.
Oh, by the way, we are sorry, Bridget. Okay, 7 days I saw we are sorry, this is day 3.
It was basically saying South African institutions, South African business people had stolen money from Botswana government using the Reserve Bank of South Africa. So those were the mistakes. And then there was a lot of diplomatic thefts using AfriForum, basically that Africana thing. Yeah, so the South African
Kafela is using AfriForum as well now.
Yeah. But for Botswana, I think if you look at the history of South Africa, ANC would never want to be seen to be taken head on by the Broederbond kind of organization, because that is basically what AfriForum is. So it was Botswana making a lot of mistakes incrementally, and then by the end of Masisi's term, diplomatic relations were about to collapse.
Yeah, and then I think just closing the chapter on Raboko for now. Just given his background in law and opposition, and also as an activist, has he made the transition now? Can we say he's presidential now?
Yeah, no, he has been able to make his mark. He needs to do a lot more. I've tried to influence his people that he's making a mistake by not writing down his speeches. For example, he does that. He gets carried away. That is how he gets lost. But he's a very good speaker, as we all know. We have always known about that. He's a good thinker. But look, we need a president who is able to stick to the script. Yeah, he can write the speeches himself because he's a very good writer.
Yeah.
But we cannot afford a president who goes into a podium without even his people, the public relations people, the press secretary and the like, knowing what exactly the president is going to be talking about.
Hey, Ma'am, the former, who's that lady? I think she also used to work for Rakama and Me Emambukuto.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
these fights that happen on social media now. I don't know, you know, even some of the MPs, like some of the stuff that comes out on social media, how would you tell them to just calm it down? Especially because, come on, they're the ones who are in power now.
That's the important thing. Look, they really need to develop a thick skin. If you look at this, what I call political technologists on social media, they don't even want anybody to mention anything they perceive as negative about Bok.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to get used to it because it comes with territory. They really need to, because in the end, it is them who are going to be criticizing Bok, especially by the time they get disillusioned, they get unhappy, they really get fed up with him. By the time that happens, their criticisms towards Boko is going to be harsher than everything that we are seeing now because they would feel really betrayed.
Let's move on to the opposition party, that is the Botswana Democratic Party. They find themselves in opposition for the first time in decades.
Yes.
How would you assess Mpho Balopi's handling of your transition? Do you think he's prepared to be an opposition leader?
Look, he's on new territory. You can see even amongst themselves, they are not sure of where to go.
Recently, the supplier
Yeah.
Hey, we saw how you can fall from grace.
You needed to even see, as they were preparing for the Maun Congress, people asking who's paying for accommodation, who's going to pay us. Those are... So on a serious note, these are not the things they were used to. These are, but I've talked to Mpho Balopi myself a lot. I think he's really prepared. He wants the party to take a different turn. He wants to unite the party. I think it's going to happen this week, appointing the subcommittees. Once we see who he has appointed, then we'll know, is he really for unity? If he is able to get people, including those that were Masisi loyalists, including those from the Khama era, and bring them into the fold, then we might give him another chance and say, no, this man means what he's been saying about uniting everybody behind the party.
He's talked about reinventing the BDP and Balopi. Do you think there's a coherent vision, or is the party still in a state of confusion?
The party is still in a state of confusion. He has to create that vision, and he's not going to be able to do it alone. He has to do it with everybody. But I give him a chance. I'll tell you why. If you look at the results of 2024 general elections, the BDP still, they had the numbers even as they lost so badly. In many constituencies, they came number 2. That goes to show that if they work hard, for many constituencies, they would have to add 1,000 people more, 1,000, 2,000, and then they are back in business. If they do that, they could win. Actually, I hope this is able to be thoroughly understood by the UDC. The BDP is still in the running in the next elections.
2030.
No.
I want to talk a little bit about the people within the party. Do you think Balopi is being undermined by people who are loyal to Ramasisi or Ian Khama? And is there still people who have that loyalty in there?
To the contrary, Masisi seems to be for now history. People know that he played a big role in the defeat. People know that if you really align with Masisi today, you face a hostile membership. So people have no choice.
So it's all over.
No, people have no choice but to really rally behind Mpho Balopi. So far, so good for him. It will ultimately be determined by him, the extent to which everybody really working him until 2029. I suspect he might, or the party might want to say, no, there's going to be a Congress, but let's make sure this Congress does not get bogged down on elections. Let's just come and talk about the policies, and then we'll see everything post 2020. And that would be a good thing, because elections, as we know, if you are preparing for things, they could be very divisive, and disruptive too.
For me, he's always, I don't know. I've never really thought of him as a politician like that, because maybe kind of go, let's more he's a businessman. So I want to think about his ideology. Like, do we have an idea of what he brings to the table?
No, I'll tell you, because I know him very well.
Yes, sir.
He's never really himself looked at himself as a true politician in the mold of Botswana Ntuan. But the fact that he has been able to be Secretary General for that long, that really built him, and it also taught him the tricks of the rope. I think if you give him a chance, if the party allows itself to rally behind him, he could come back, because he has been a minister. He has also been given the role, especially during Khama, a free reign to run the party. He was running around liaising with ANC, Frelimo, Kubo, Namibia, and the like, Leko, Angola. So he knows his way around the region. Yeah.
Whoa, okay. And some analysts have said that the BDP needs to go through a complete generational reset. I don't know if, because the you know, do you think that Balopi is the man to lead them on that generational reset? Because, you know, we have the likes of Boami, Makoba. If they really wanted young people, I think maybe they would have gone that way, but he's pretty, he's pretty wet behind the ears. But do you think this is the man to do that generational reset?
Let me say, look, like I said earlier on, you have to look at who he appoints. People like Ami Makoba, he should bring them closer to himself, because Ami is still very young. But the party rejected Ami, I suspect, on inexperience. Mpho Balopi has been in government. He was a minister, a senior minister for that matter. But Ami has not been. Mpho, he'll have to validate himself by appointing Sami one way or the other. It could be at the party secretariat. It could be him leading a senior position in one of the subcommittees. Because Ami represents the future, really.
Definitely.
But if you talk about the now, Mpho is not as old as you would say. Who else should I say? Nono Formally. So Mpho is the same age as Bo Dumaboko, around that age, as Bo Botsalo Ntuane. So they are the now generation. So I wouldn't say he's misplaced in that regard.
Or he's comfortable where he is and he's never trying to get into it, because he's one of our greater political minds.
No, he has come closer to the BDP, much closer than he was under Masisi, actually. Because under Masisi, he literally wanted to walk away, because they had not really been gelling together. The other one was elected earlier on as chairman, the other one as secretary general, and then they started fighting, both of them, for the TEF under Ian Khama. So when Masisi basically won that battle and became the president, Mpho Ntuane walked away, which was a good thing. It was a good thing, and said, no, I allow him the space to do it. But right now, it's like Balopi is trying to bring everybody. Ntuane has been playing a big role behind the scenes.
Definitely. With the roles in a political party, who is the president the major person, like as compared to like the chairman? What does the chairman really do in this regard?
For many political parties, the chairman, especially the BDP, is totally ceremonial. What I've heard they want to do, BDP, is that they want to change the constitution. This is a party that basically was created to rule the country. And after 60 years or so, they find themselves that they are no longer in power. So many of the things about themselves were created for power. So they really need to look at their constitution and say, is this constitution really created to bring us back into power or not? They don't have the position of vice president. I think they are working at bringing that. And who knows, people like Bonobon Ntuane could contest for that and become it. But who knows, again, Botswana Khama back. And we don't know whether they are still really married to a BPF, or they are going to tell BPF, let's go home, guys.
It's like a soapy. Everything keeps happening all at once. I think that it's a good segue to talk about Ian Khama and in this new political landscape. There were fears that Ian Khama would destabilize the new government. Has he managed to remain politically relevant?
If you really are a close observer of Ian Khama, you would see that this is a man who is really scared of irrelevance. He doesn't want to become irrelevant, and he would do everything so that he stays as relevant as he was 30 years ago. And in a big way, he succeeded because he wants to see himself as the kingmaker. Yeah, he's now back, at least officially, at the Khotla. And by positioning himself as an active paramount Khosi, he's basically saying, I'm overlooking at roughly around 15 constituencies, political constituencies that fall under my jurisdiction. So for you to win an election in Botswana, you really need to convince such a Khosi that his interests are taken care of, which is why Boko also is part of the reasons why he was able to win. Khama was in exile, his family was there, and he basically positioned himself by saying, I would bring you back and give you what you want most, which is not only coming here, but also taking you back to Serowe. And I will help you to get rid of who? Masisi. Khama did not want anything bigger than removing Masisi. He wanted Masisi out at all costs. So going forward, Mpho Balopi now, he's been saying, we are going to Serowe to apologize, basically saying to apologize to Khama and his people. So I don't know how it's going to end. I think the story to watch going into elections, the next elections, would be to say, who does Khama really support? He's a cause, he might not say it publicly, but we all know that BDP, especially a BDP that does not want to fight him, is the same BDP that was started by his father. So we don't know. His loyalty might get to stint to his natural home, which is the BDP. We never know.
For some reason, I'm seeing the Ndwadi Khosi gain its power, like to some extent, because he's there, and it seems like Basimola, to be taken into the fold a little bit more than I guess with the last administration. What can an Ndwadi Khosi do for our current democracy?
A lot of people are saying we should get rid of Ndwadi Khosi. But those people saying it are mainly the elite in the cities. If you go to the rural areas, our people are still attached to Yadukos, to Khosi. They still believe in what the Khosi say. People would not agree to you saying, these people don't know what they are doing, let's get rid of them. In fact, if you are a politician saying that, you will immediately lose power, you will immediately lose elections. So the reason why they are gaining strength, of course, is mainly because Khama has been into it. He's now into it. He's a former president. He also is able to call the minister. He took one minister head on, until we saw them come together again. So he's not an ordinary guy. He's a politician, but a very powerful one for that matter, even as he says he's a cause.
Has Khama become a liability or an asset to the now government?
He's a big liability for them. He's a big liability for them because they always have to be second guessing him. They need to know where, and every day, where he is, what he's up to. They need to know where he stands on key issues. You see, they need to make sure they don't annoy him. You could see it, like I'm saying with Motsekwa. I remember that. Even the president also would tell his minister, please go and talk to him. We don't know what he's up to. Maybe he just wants to use this as an excuse.
But having such a figure, I mean, in South Africa, they're able to deal with it really well. Let's say, for example, with the Zulu Kingdom. It seems like, what type of setup can we have where, they are comfortable in their own space, and then they don't try and creep into the political space?
You are right. It's got to do with the institutions. They have very, very strong liberal democracy there. They have very, very strong institutions. But look, it is not like the Zulu Kingdom itself you can easily wash away. The reason why MK Party has been growing is basically because of tribalism. It's taken the whole province of the Zulu Kingdom. And we are talking here about around 10, 11 million people, you can imagine, of all of them following the king. So if you are able as a politician to also harness that and make those your followers, as Zuma has been able to do, you become a very strong, even if as you don't have not only ideology, you don't have a program. Nobody knows what really Zuma stands for. But all he's able to do is to make himself look like a victim and tell the Zulus that I'm where I am. These people are persecuting me because they want to get at you. If you get rid of me, they will go directly for you. That's victimhood, but that's politics also.
But man, Little Khama, I think, has taken a page from that book. Yeah, victimhood. You know, what do you make of his speech at the Sesrata Khama Day celebrations, where he talked about, you know, how he was being treated by the former administration, and I don't know what the call was for. Prosecute you. I'm not sure what he wants to see happen.
Yeah, maybe let's say this. There's no doubt that the family was persecuted.
Yes, sir.
There's no doubt that Khama himself was heavily persecuted. He was hounded out of the country. And then there was this bogus litigation in which he was among the chief suspects of $100 billion. Pula. Yeah, which Botswana never had. Look, the governor of the central bank, they said no, we never had that much money, so it could not have been stolen from here. So, but
who comes up with this thing?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Who sat at the table and told, like, we saw what we can do? We can say they stole $100 billion.
But the Khama is very shrewd. And then he's also a hard worker in campaign. He's a campaign horse. So, which is why once he came back here, just before elections, he was able to do like 90
every day
campaigns, the rallies. You can imagine?
Every single day he was on the road.
So once you try to fight him, you better know what you are in for. Yeah. So that is not to say he was not treated unfairly, but he's now milking it beyond. I heard that he said he wants justice. He's right. Yeah. Some people really have to be taken to the cleaners for it. But we can only do it if the president agrees to make a commission of inquiry so that we know what really happened, so that, again, it never happens again.
So this whole traveling that Khama does across the continent, and they were detained, I think, in Angola, or was it Mozambique, going to Angola or something like that, you know. What do you think these travels are all about?
No, he's part of an international think tank. Yeah, that is sponsored by people like Oppenheimer, Pet in South Africa. And he's a very key person in it. You would see him going all over. Like you said, when he was arrested in Angola, he was part of his, I think it's called the Brilliance. Yeah. So that is it. But there is also part of the travel for a former president. Yeah. So the state would take care of that. So you can see that he has no shortage of money to move around. Yeah.
I want to talk about him as does he have a political base? Does he have a political public support base that when we say he moves with his people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
So he's a threat to anyone who's against him.
That is it. Yeah. You can imagine, like I'm saying, in those 15 constituencies, even if he has only a third of people supporting him in each one of them, that's still a big number.
Yeah.
You cannot take the 3 Soria constituencies without the explicit authority of the Khama family. And just 3, you can imagine. So if you are campaigning as a future president, already if you are with Khama, you have 3 before the elections even happen. So so it's a big deal, really. Yeah.
And then moving on to, I want to talk a little bit about the labor unions. Do our labor unions have any power? You know, some political force to get things done. We are always seeing statements, we're always seeing Bakopani, but it never looks like they can move the needle at all. What do you think about our labor unions? And, you know, do they have any type of relevance at all? Do they do anything?
I think they have taken a decision that they would not, for now, meddle in direct politics, party politics. But I think they bring a lot of history of overreach. And people, including their members, they really are annoyed with them. Number one, they are not doing what they are supposed to be doing, which is fighting for the rights of the members. They are not able to fight for individual members who feel wronged at their workplace. They are meddling in the bigger scheme of things, which is always to fight government rather than saying SCAR has had his money deducted or he's been wronged 1, 2, 3. We are going to industrial court, and use your subscriptions, by the way, to fight those. People feel that we now have executives, study trade union and being people who have enriched themselves at the expense of the membership.
Yeah.
So they really have a long way to regain that credibility. I see that they are also bracing themselves to take government head on as a result of the negotiations that they are having now. They might try to go for big strikes going forward. I don't know whether the members will buy into it, but that will be a big test for them. If they are able to, then we'll say yes, they are back. But they have key people who are really good at campaigning and talking, the orators like Bo Johnson Motswarako.
Yeah. I think the one of the major impasses that have been going on has been with the Botswana Doctors Union. We just saw recently I think it's the chairman or someone put up a statement distancing themselves from Dr. Selema, who called for the minister, Stephen Modise, I think it was Barry or something. I'd say license.
Because they didn't fulfill certain
so I don't know. What do you think about this situation where the union, in a statement there calling for someone to be...
I think there's a power play happening behind the scenes in that trade union. You remember also on May Day, somebody made a big statement. And then people said, no, but that is just for him. We didn't do that. And then this. So there's something happening there. We will know about it very soon. But for any union to come up to disown the leader, that's a big thing. That guy, he really has to win it back or he has to resign, because that's a total show of lack of confidence.
We've had him on the show as well, and describing the conditions that the doctor, it doesn't look sustainable. The current situation I want the employer. It's not sustainable.
No, it's not. And I think I would also blame it on the lack of money. The government of Botswana will not be able to meet their demands, and they have genuine demands. When you listen to them, especially when they talk about this, what you would call overtime. Or being called for emergencies, being on a call. So those are issues that are genuine. But even when you also listen to Botswana government, they acknowledge it, that indeed, you have a case, but can we please by way of buying time, continue talking, with the hope that diamond sales will come back. Because that's the only magic wand that we have as a country.
So we are really doomed right now without diamonds.
Unless diamonds come back. This country, in fact, the president, I heard him recently say, signs are there, China, America, Europe, they are coming back. I hope he's right. Because if they don't, we could be headed for the really worst time before things turn back again.
BMC used to be something that we were really happy about. What's going on with that?
That was then. BMC has been on a decline forever. This government has said they have plans to resuscitate it. I think they are going to be looking for new investors because the market is there. Europe, the quota that has been offered Botswana, we will never be able to meet it. But it is the cattle themselves that are not coming to the slaughter. If we are able to do that, the farmers are able to sell, and BMC is able to pay the farmers on time, then we have a game in our hands.
We're about to wrap it up, Mr. Spencer. I want to get quickly into the Gaborone City Council and the fighting we see every week on Facebook. There's tension regarding Remuti. Junaid Muti, I think, is the gentleman who was seen as Motonatus at UDC to ultimately get into power by the means of Madi. So what do you make of your name? What do you think is really at the heart of the infighting that's going on in the City Council?
No, it's very easy to actually decipher the whole thing. It's around UDC protecting their mayor. If you see the mayor, he's basically, even though later on it seems like they toned down. But
It's the gentleman from Pakalani,
the BDP guy.
The BDP
yeah,
guy,
the BDP guy. Yeah, and he has been very consistent, and he has given the mayor a real run for his money.
He's protesting every morning.
Yeah.
I will protest every morning.
I think the guy, we really have to give him credit because he's putting the mayor on his toes. Yeah, but it's a much bigger thing than just the Gaborone City Council thing. If you look at what is happening within government, the multi thing, I think is quite a big contract if it happens. Do we have that much money as a country? I think, and that's what based on what I've been reading in the newspapers, is that even the Minister of Finance himself does not buy into it. Yeah, but then Muti is President Boko's man. I guess he was the one going out of his way to seek campaign money because he was the leader. He is the leader. Yeah. So we will see how it plays out. I suspect because there's really no money, they are going to have to tell Muti to please wait in the shadows because you might cause problems. Because Batswana, once they join into it, they're going to even say, but who the hell is Muti? Because what has he done for us? But the UDC, they have to be loyal to him if it is indeed the one who paid for them.
What do you think the UDC, is it able to manage power at the local level? Because usually we hear these arguments about Bakansalara. What do you think they're able to do at the local level?
You know, as a country, we need to change what kind of people we allow to lead the local government, because that is really where power is supposed to be, where the people are. We need to improve their quality. We need to give central and local government more resources. We need to also increase their prestige by way of salaries so that we are able to attract quality. If we can get more people who are graduates, for example, joining politics at that level, then I think it will improve. You know, it used to be so bad at council level that we had councillors who could not even write their names.
Yeah, I remember.
That is no longer the case. There is an increasing number of graduates joining in at that level, especially also a result of unemployment generally. People say, if I cannot go to parliament, why not take the easy route, which is the council level?
I must say I was impressed about like even I'm like, yo, the council has upped its level.
Yes.
But they are discussing issues at a very high level.
Very high level. You have to watch the guy you were talking about, the Pakalan, the Gaborone North guy.
Yes, sir.
He's very solid.
Very
we have to give him credit. Whether you like him or not. I don't know his name, but I've watched him. He's a very solid chap. He could easily become a member of parliament, by the way. But for him to have joined at that level, that's where we need people of his quality to be more of them.
I wouldn't like to be the mayor right now. You know, where you have to do the party's bidding. God, you have to answer to the people in the house. So, you know, it takes a certain type of person to get into something like this. If you could identify one major risk to the UDC government right now, what would it be?
There would be a number of them. The top one would be corruption. The president has to tell his guys that UDC came on the strengths of promises it made, especially against corruption. Batswana were horrified at the level of corruption that happened during Masisi's time. And they wanted to give somebody else a chance. If they see that what they were sold was a dummy, they would never forgive Boko and his UDC. So he has to be seen to be fighting corruption. Other than that, they have to continue managing Ian Khama. It's not easy.
It can't
the problem
be
with Khama is that you don't know. He asks for something, you give it to him. The following morning he's in again asking for another. So it's so it's a difficult. They have to keep juggling and making sure that he's on the right side of the UDC.
You know, there was a time back in the day with the BDP government where it almost felt like it was people taken from another planet to come and take care of us because we can't take care of ourselves. There's like a superiority complex that comes with some of the leaders from yesteryear. We don't know what we want and they do. And I'm just so happy that we are not under that anymore.
No, we are not under that.
You know, it's so relieving in that, like, it felt like they had been brought here by divine intervention.
Yeah, but these are the people that we've always known. These are the people who were never part of the social elite. These were
public school kids.
Yeah, they went to school. We ate with them under the trees.
Yeah.
They suffered like all of us.
Hired us.
So for the first time, you are able to see and relate with them. Even as I also hear amongst other comrades, our guys are in power, but they are no longer now taking our calls.
I was talking to yesterday, the day before yesterday, and she was telling me, we saw the scar, Borreba, and
I think, they really need to, the one thing that they need to manage, other than their public relations, which they really have to be schooled in again, they need to see how they are able to reach out to the people and be more approachable. Rather than saying we are in power and get buttoned up and wear the authority up the sleeves. No, they still need to relax. We need people who are more relaxed. Very much like the president. He's your typical guy. He look at his authority. He's the highest amongst them, but he's still the guy you can relate to.
Definitely. He can actually play football. It wasn't bad at all.
It wasn't bad at all.
So for the next 6 months, what would you say we should be looking out for to actually gauge if there's any real change happening?
Very easy. Look, we need to see a lot of things turn around. Right now, the way things are going, we are not even sure we are going to continue with sponsoring kids for university. We are not even sure we are going to continue with free medicine. We need to be very, very observant. Is the economy really turning around? Because without the economy improving, there's nothing that is going to improve. These guys will talk as much as they want, but the people are going to get very angry with them very soon because more people will lose jobs. There's coming a time, unless things improve, when they are going to face the nation, bite the bullet and tell us that we have to cut the size of the public service, which is a thing that they've known about all these years, all these people before Boduma Boko came in, but never did it because of the politics, the risks that it will entail. But they will have no choice unless the economy improves.
And privatization, these parastatals, it doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon.
Masisi talked about cutting and merging many of these parastatals. He didn't do it. He talked about cutting the size of the civil service. He never did it. But look, he's out. These guys are now in power. They have to do something about it. Otherwise, it will be forced onto them by the economy itself.
And just in closing, something personal for you, Brother Spencer.
Yes.
Are you interested in getting into politics? Why aren't you getting into politics?
No, not for now. Let me tell you this. This is my thinking for now.
Yes, sir.
The politics is not the only thing that we live for. We are not all going to go into government. There is the private sector. Which has never been more important because of what is happening with the economy. There is also the civil service, like the NGOs. Those are very important also. But everybody wants to become a permanent secretary. Everybody wants to become a minister. So the government cannot all absorb us. So I have determined that for now I will stick with what I'm doing.
Yes, sir.
For the foreseeable. I will never say never. Who knows? One day I'll also maybe want to become a minister.
I'll register where you are.
But that's where I am for now.
Some people probably think, you are afraid of being criticized. You want to do the criticizing.
Yes, that is very true. Because once you open yourself up as a politician, you open yourself to scrutiny. But I have myself as a journalist been one of the most criticized people in this country for many years,
Yes,
actually.
sir.
So I think that one does not worry me a lot. I'm used to criticism. In fact, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I wish the UDC guys online can also get used to it.
But like with politics, I think it takes a certain type of person.
Yeah.
You know, we can't all do the same thing.
No,
you know,
no,
so
no, no,
we all help how we can.
We can't all join government.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can't. And my worry is that also, once people become members of parliament, they now want to become ministers,
Yeah.
which leaves the backbench very weak.
Yeah.
And we need talent, we need quality
Yes, sir.
at the backbench.
Awesome stuff.
Which
Miss.
brings me one thing. You wanted, if you talk about the quality of the backbench, let's look what Bodimela and Salishando they've been doing as opposition.
Yeah.
I think they've been doing a very good job in holding this government accountable. My only worry is that often they have looked too aggressive, as they did Public Accounts Committee, because those are BCP guys that are doing. But they need to hold this government accountable, to scrutinize it, but also to give them credit where it is due. That is very, very important. Otherwise, the people will not take them seriously. They will see them as bad losers.
It's actually an opportunity to know more. You know,
Yes.
I think instead of grandstanding, if they took advantage of it and saw it as an opportunity to educate themselves about what's happening in
That's
these places, it would take them a very longer way. So, yes, I guess in short, you are not going to get into politics. Never say
never. Who knows?
Yes,
2029, there might be a different story. I don't know.
Yes, sir. No, I really appreciate that,
Thank you.
Spencer. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. And also to Brodumana Salashando, if he's watching this, man, get well soon.
Yes.
You know, these stories of him on leave. Almost spacing man. And that is our show. Mr. Spencer, thank you very much.
Take care.
And we will see you again next week at 3 p.m. Guys, please smash that subscribe button, okay? We're trying to do something here. We want to make sure that we keep the lights on. So smash that subscription button, and Local Corner, Multimedia YouTube page. And also shout out to Joyful Moments Biltong. You have some there, Mr. Spencer. And get yourself some, man. 74260382. Oscar, there's even a sweet inside. It's been fun. We'll see you guys again next week. I'm SCAR. I'm out of here, man. Oh, shout out to One Stop Shop, man. Remember, we got our merchandise coming up very, very soon. So, we out. Peace.
Of different identities. PODI-CAST with BSCAR.